I'm about to cut the Blue Cooler 60 Quart Ice Vault in half, but before I do that, I'm gonna show you all the science I did at this cooler. I tested a 7-pound bag of ice in this, measured it out for over 3 days, and so I'm gonna tell you exactly at which points it hits 40 degrees, 50 degrees, kind of the major components. I'm gonna tell you exactly how much it holds, everything you need to know about the Blue Cooler 60 Quart Ice Vault with wheels before you go buying it. The Blue 60 Quart Ice Vault has 60 liquid quarts of capacity. In real world terms, you can store between 50 and 55 cans in the cooler with a 2-to-1 ice to can ratio. That's enough to throw a pretty raging party if you're so inclined. I use my coolers for weekend camping trips, so those are the terms I tend to think of when I'm thinking about capacity. I think in those terms. So the Blue 60, it's a great size for a family of 4 on a 3-day weekend. Dad can bring his 12-pack of beers, Mom can store an upright bottle of Pink Zinfandel, that's sicko, plus there's a lot of room left over for carrying burgers, hot dogs, and even a gallon of milk. So pretty much all the perishables you'd expect to use through a few nights of camping under the stars, you'd still have enough room left over in the cooler for a decent amount of ice so it stays cold throughout that entire trip. For my insulation test, I didn't load up the Blue Cooler 60 Quart all the way up to capacity. Instead, I loaded it with 7 pounds of ice and measured the temperature every hour in a temperature controlled room. You can see my results here. With 7 pounds of ice, my Blue Cooler kept its contents below 40 degrees for 39 hours. That's the temperature at which it's no longer safe to store meat at, so that is a good cutoff point right there. 4 hours later, at the 43-hour mark, the internal temperature rose to about 50 degrees, which is where beers are no longer frosty. The only thing that can make this cooler even more portable is a motor and a set of wheels for the front. You can drive that thing like a go-kart. While the Blue Cooler 60 Quart weighs 36.5 pounds empty, having the pull bar and wheels on the back make it so much easier to move around. The wheels have a 6-inch diameter, which is totally average. And it's quite sizable and allows the cooler to pass over decent sized rocks if you're walking on a bumpy path. The stainless steel bar is also secure and sturdy, so it doesn't feel like it's gonna fall off when you're wheeling your cooler around, which is really nice. I can't say that that's true with all wheeled coolers. I've used a few that they're a little shaky. Blue Coolers has loaded their cooler with all kinds of awesome features, and I think this is really an area where Blue stands out. Of course, you have the option to add wheels, which to me, that's a no-brainer. You should definitely add the wheels. The Blue Cooler 60 Quart also features a drain spigot, and it has a pressure release valve, which means you actually get the option to use dry ice. Normally dry ice, as it sublimates or turns from a solid to gas, it can build up pressure, but you don't get that. The pressure release just automatically releases that for you, so you don't have to deal with that. It also has plastic latch handles, a stainless padlock plate, a built-in bottle opener, a rubber gasket, and molded tie-down slots. All right, now that we've talked about the specs, let's cut this thing in half. Like Cooler Bill always says, safety first. Insulation. Coolers, baby. Yeah. Those definitely just broke. All right, so now that I've got the Blue Cooler cut in half, check it out right here. I haven't cut any other 60 quart coolers in half, so I can't really compare it to anything comparable, but I have cut the Arctic 20 quart in half, the Igloo BMX 25, the Orca 20 quart in half, and the Yeti Roadie 24. I have cut those all in half for another video where I compare the best 20 quart coolers against one another. You can see that video popping up right there or in the descriptions below. But basically, there are some cool similarities that I've noticed between the Blue and a few of these brands. So, Blue Coolers is using a 2-inch high-density foam all the way around. It's all both walls, the floor, and the ceiling. It's about 2 inches of foam insulation. That is really similar to the Arctic 20 quart, where it has just the same density of foam, same thickness of foam all the way around. No other cooler that I tested is like that. So even Yeti, they use about 1.5 inches of foam on their Roadie 24. Orca, at some parts, they use about 1.5 inches. And then Igloo, they even go down to 1 inch of foam around there. Now, when I compared the 22 quart coolers against each other, I noticed that YETI came out on top. This had the best insulation. And after doing a little bit more research, that's because YETI, even though they use less foam insulation, however the YETI is made with a little bit more air in that foam, it allows for slightly better insulation, at least with the 20 quart coolers. Now, I'm a little hesitant to speak about the 60 quart coolers and make that kind of generalization about these as well, because I have only tested the blue 60 quart. I have not tested the 60 quart version of the YETI or any of these other brands. I can only go off of what I'm seeing comparing this one, and trust me, I will cut some more 60 quart coolers in half. Give me a thumbs up if you want to see me cut another 60 quart cooler in half and compare it to the blue. A few things that we didn't cut in half actually on the blue cooler is at the back they have 2 hinges offset. Those are stainless steel, so those are super sturdy. And then you can also see, if you zoom in really close, we have a rubber gasket that goes all the way around the edge of the blue cooler. That's something that's similar in Arctic, Orca, and YETI, but the Igloo BMX25 does not have that. Blue coolers really surprised me with their 60 quart Ice Vault. It is a great cooler at a really affordable price, and to me it's a perfect companion for camping trips or long car rides. When you get that bigger size, it's a great deal. The insulation is comparable to major brands like YETI and Arctic, and its price is closer to the low end of what you can expect for roto-molded coolers. I love the latch system because they're easy to open with a single hand, and they stay firm even when dropped, even when fully loaded with ice too. The insulation, it's not out of this world. I'd say it's in the same ballpark as YETI, Arctic, or Orca, but my favorite part of this whole entire thing is the pressure release valve. If I ever needed to keep things cold for 5 or more days, I can throw some dry ice into the bottom of this thing, and I don't have to worry about like the whole thing exploding up or the top blowing off or anything like that. It's automatically going to take care of that for me, and so that is one of the biggest things about this cooler that I really like. If you'd like to see how Blue Cooler's insulation compares to other brands, you can see me cut in half a ton of different coolers popping up on the screen right now. I'll see you in the next video, and until then, stay cool.